So, we are outside, if you can't tell, and I give up trying to get a better camera angle, though the crocuses are up, so that's exciting. Um, Basically, we are outside to do another casual chat video. You guys seem to be enjoying these, so hey, hi, hello there, welcome outside. Welcome to another chat video. Chat video. Chat video. Anyway, I brought my cat out to graze, grazing the back nine. Does anyone else's cat do this? You bring them outside and they just eat grass? Nom 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 grass. Nom 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 nom. Nom nom grass. Holy crap. Alright, anyway, so I was reading through the comments on the video that I posted yesterday for y'all about my thoughts. And someone said it was dangerous for women to be thinking this day and age. The sounds of spring. Why did I do this outside? Please excuse any of the sounds of nature that you may hear. You know, buzzsaws, leaf blowers, trucks. I swear to you, I live in a very quiet neighborhood. I swear. And since I'm not using my Yeti, I don't have the ability to filter out the sound right away. Anyhow, don't bump the chair. Thank you, God. Anyway, enough of the distraction. So, one thing that I did see a lot of people bring up, and I know that this is like the hot topic to talk about, and if you can't tell by that very painful eye roll, it's like the last thing I really want to talk about, and the Wipegate thing. I did watch a video by Salty Crab. I talk about Salty Crab a lot. I probably should start linking their videos for realsies. Mainly because, like, their videos are actually pretty good. But I also, like, they're such a big channel. If you guys aren't watching Salty Crab, I really don't know why you're not. Anyway, I will try to remember to link this particular video down because Salty Crab really does kind of break down the entirety of Wipegate. And kind of what I wanted to add to it is more the why we're watching it, as opposed to I don't really have anything to add to the timeline of Wipegate, I guess is where I'm going with this, because Salty Crab backs everything backs it up to all the way back to the live era, right after Amber and Beck have first broken up, and Beck and Amber are doing their lives together. Yes, I know. You are the love of my life. And I believe Salty said that Wifey had already moved in and Beck and Amber were still doing lives, and Amber was feeling particularly spicy and decided to go in on Beck for some whatever reason. And so Amber was just being a biatch and was just being a capital C word to Beck, and Beck was done with it. Oop. Anyway, she does this thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. When I let her go, she like kicks out with her back feet and makes it way more dramatic than it needs to be. Anyhow, and that's where the infamous whisper that was heard around the internet, "Who wipes your ass?" comes from. And that is what set off Wipegate. Now, up until that point, there was speculation that Amber couldn't wipe her own rear end for various reasons, one of which being Amber was pushing 600, and we all watch My 600-Pound Life, so we're all fully aware of how difficult it is for people of size to reach around. And Amber is built like a melted Hershey Kiss, so let's be realistic, yeah? So with that little piece of confirmation, you know, Salty kind of walks us through the live And the moment where Amber kind of realizes that the chat did actually hear what Beck said, and they start going in on Amber about it. And I think it's not too long after that moment that Amber ends the live. And then the next night, Amber comes on and tries to get Beck to walk it back as a joke. It was a joke. And it doesn't really work, right? And so Amber then comes out and admits that Beck did indeed help her wipe during her recovery from her surgery from her hysterectomy. And that was supposedly the end of it, right? And that came and it went. And it kind of haunted Amber for a while. It stuck, okay? It stuck with her. And part of that was a little bit of schadenfreude. I think people kind of enjoyed seeing Beck get one over on Amber because, again, this was the end of the Beck era. There were a lot of people who were just happy to see Beck get away from Amber. They were happy to see Beck standing up for themselves. They were happy to see Beck snapping back because even after the breakup had occurred, Beck had stayed in the apartment because they didn't have anywhere else to go, honestly. And you're going to knock this over. I love you. Please don't knock my camera over. Anyway. So people were just kind of happy to see Beck kind of lash back. And I don't think Beck meant for people to hear that, but it was, no pun intended, it did get heard. And, once the cat's out of the bag, good luck. You can't put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube, as a wise man once said. And I think people stuck with it, because we were just happy to see Beck kind of snap back. And I think other people really stuck with it because there's a low level of meanness in the community. Y'all asked for this, by the way. People are like, oh, what about the community? Well, there's a low level of meanness in the community that just kind of sticks with these kind of things. And I think part of it is well-deserved. Don't get me wrong. I think Amber has cultivated this. I think Amber has grown this. She's not a sympathetic character. It's very easy to not want the best for her. Again, schadenfreude. Rachel did a really great video. I'll try to link it down below, but I kind of want to go over it more in depth than this about why we enjoy watching train wrecks. And she kind of talks about the schadenfreude aspect of all of this in there as well. And I think that level of just sustained meanness towards Amber is in there as well. And I think that's why the Wipegate thing sticks around as much as it does. And so that was simmering on the back burners as long as it was. You really are just wrapping yourself around every single chair leg out here. So that was the original Wipegate, right? I'm trying to remember if there was a second revival of this. I don't recall. Anyway, so again, back to Salty Crab's video. Salty Crab documents it up till Beck leaves, right? And Amber starts in on Beck again. Again, Amber, I never talked about Beck. I never talked about our relationship. Girlfriend, please. Anyhow, so once Amber started bringing it up again, Beck snaps back again, and I think again brings up the wiping thing. And I believe Beck mentions that, I told you, it wasn't even 5 minutes. Beck mentions that the helping with the bathroom hygiene occurred even before the hysterectomy. And that was pretty much the end of it. And that's kind of revived the whole, oh, thank God you're taking a nap. Yes. Nap in the sunlight. Be a cat. And that kind of revived the whole, who's been wiping your ass thing. And there was a little bit of a back and forth there for a while between Amber and Beck, and then I forget what made it die down. I think Beck just quit responding, honestly. But this was back when the breakup was still fresh. Beck wasn't in a good place mentally or anything really, and I think Beck just eventually just like backed off, which I think was a really good move on Beck's end, honestly, because it allowed them to just kind of break off from the Amberverse and kind of get themselves into a better space, right? But it also took away that ammunition that Amber had, because the reality of the situation is Amber's side of the Amberverse is very dull. Amber by herself is very dull. She doesn't have a lot going for her. She doesn't have the personality to really carry a show, if one will, on her own. And I think she knows that, which is the other reason why I think she continued to bring Beck up time and time again, because during that time, Wifey was not interested in being on camera. Wifey wasn't interested in doing things with Amber, even off camera. Even after the breakup, Amber tried to get Wifey to do like a podcast kind of a thing. That didn't really work. I mean, the one did, and that was awkward. But, you know, the mysterious hand that would come. She really couldn't get Wifey to do anything on camera, which in the end really worked out for Wifey, but it didn't work out for Amber. And so I think that's one of the reasons why she kept going back to Beck, because it got eyeballs onto her onto her show, right? Because Amber can't hold the shows herself. I'm treating this like a television show, if you can't tell. Time passes. Wifey dumps Amber's butt off in Oklahoma and bails. Valentine comes and goes. Tommy comes and goes. What is that, 4? Has it been 4 or 5 years now has passed since the breakup between Beck and Amber. And Beck has finally decided to break their silence. Did something set it off? I don't exactly remember what set it off. I don't remember. I don't recall. But I believe it was Karina. I think Beck made the first video on their own. Just kind of like, here's my side of things. And then I think it was Karina. Maybe it was Salty Crab. Karina or Salty Crab got to Beck first. Asked some questions. Beck answered them. Then there was another Q&A. And then another Q&A. Then another Q&A. And then Mr. Snowflake got a hold of it. And then we had the Q&As. Not to be mean to the other reaction channels, but let's face it. When it comes to this kind of a thing, Snowflake's got this shit nailed down, you know. So Snowflake does his interviews with Beck. They are by far the best. Ooh, the red-headed woodpecker's out here. See what you get when I sit outside? You get my distractions. And the Q&A is about Amber. Questions about Beck's relationship with Amber and what was going on during that. Now, Beck, up to this point, has been very adamant about not answering questions about hygiene or smells or anything really embarrassing towards Amber, right? Even up to this point, Beck is doing their best to preserve Amber's dignity, right? Because Beck is a better person. Beck is a better person than a lot of us, don't get me wrong. Just in general. And you can hear in Beck's voice during these interviews that they're in a better place, that they're happier, that they're obviously they can talk about these things without sounding detached, without sounding angry, without rage, like a little bit of rage in their voice. Even once Beck gets angry, well, Beck eventually does get angry here. We're still not hearing like that trembling rage in Beck's voice. We still don't hear that. Now, maybe that's just good editing, maybe, but I don't think so. I really don't. So there's a little back and forth going on. I'm just going to abbreviate this. There's a little bit of back and forth going on between Beck's interviews and Amber's responses, because Amber, of course, feels the need to respond. Because Amber. honestly, in this situation, it really would have just been best if Amber had just said nothing, had just let Beck talk, and had just done what Amber does best and just ignored it, pretend like it wasn't happening, and just let it go. Like she did with Destiny. I know she reacted to Destiny a little bit, but honestly, see, I told you, leaf blowers. Honestly, when push came to shove, she eventually just let the Destiny shit go, right? And Destiny was a whole lot meaner than Becky was. Sorry, Beck was. Um. Anyway, Amber's got it out for Beck. Like Amber is mean to Beck. I was really hoping to do this whole thing outside, but that's just going to be a level of noise I just can't. I just can't work with. All I need now is like a marching band to start walking out in front of me now. Alright, anyway. We'll break here. I forget where I was. Something about Amber should have just not responded. And the back and forth between Amber and Beck. Anyway. So... Anyway, jumping forward. I've already talked about all of this briefly, and I really don't want to rehash any of it too much. Again, plenty of other channels have gone over this in detail. And again, if you just want to listen to people just be mean and just make jokes, plenty of channels to do that on, right? The whole situation, honestly, is absolutely ridiculous. And it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And Amber just responds to it like a 5-year-old. And to be fair, it really is kind of just like a high school feud anyway. And several of you are like, I'd really love the anthropological breakdown of it. Well, the anthropological breakdown of it is you've got two people whose feelings are hurt. They're both trying to get one up on each other. And I do like Beck, don't get me wrong. But that's really all that's happening here is they're both accusing the other of being the liar in the situation, and they're both trying to prove that they aren't the liar and that the other person is. At the end of the day, one of them is more believable than the other, and so the community gravitates towards the one they feel is more believable. And in this situation, the majority of the community believes that Beck is more believable than Amber. If you get into Amber's lives, or if you watch any of the channels that allow you to watch Amber's lives, and you watch the chat, you have to watch the chat, you will see that there are people in Amber's chat who at least pretend to be on Amber's side. And they do say things like, oh, we support you, oh, your story's valid, oh, you know, there are people outside of Amber's members only stuff who don't like Beck, right? I've had a couple people in my comment section who don't like Beck, and that's fine. I've had a couple of people say that, you know, this is a little, what is it? Was it a little too late? I don't know how the phrase goes. I'm drawing a blank, but anyway, and they think that Beck's just coming out now for the monies. Maybe. I don't know. Personally, I don't have a problem with it if it is. Honestly, I don't care. I cannot throw shade. I have a monetized channel. Let's be honest. Right now, YouTube's doing fuck all about the freaking the ads. I don't know what YouTube's doing with ads right now. They're being weird. But anyway, so I can't really judge when it comes to that. But that's really what's happening right here. Is we're watching two people have a fight, have a schoolyard fight online. And again, we as a community are more apt to fall on one side or the other. I made my stance very clear in the last video. If you don't know what side I fall on, you're not paying attention. And Amber, because she's losing the fight effectively, is spiraling. And a couple of you did point out in the last video, I forget what you guys were calling it, like a Or narcoleptic, yes. Words. What are we always calling her? A narcissist, an injured narcissist or something like that. Anyway, she's basically wounded, and this is her lashing out. And I don't necessarily think she has to be a narcissist to be reacting in this way. Um, she is being attacked, right? One way or the other, she's being attacked, and because there are so many people in the Amberverse who want to believe the worst about her no matter what it is. And she's right when she says these things. Like there is a good sized chunk of the Amberverse that it doesn't matter what you say as long as it's something negative, they're going to latch onto it and they're going to believe it, or they're at least going to repeat it over and over and over again because they want negative things to say about Amber. And again, this goes back to that level of meanness that just exists within the Amberverse that just won't let certain things go because they like having that level of embarrassment or just negativity to constantly needle her with, right? Excuse me. And this is why Wipegate has existed, has lived this long, why Wipegate continues to exist. Because as part of this back and forth, Amber has her meltdown on camera. Now again, the big meltdown, the really big meltdown happens during one of her members' lives. So only those of us who are members got to see it fresh. There's a good chunk of people who were able to watch along with us. I don't know how they managed to do that though. So what I'm saying is a good chunk of the population was able to watch Amber just spiral and just crash out. And it wasn't great. It's not a great look. But because she just starts wildly throwing punches at everybody, and it was pretty ugly, right? She's just really throwing punches at people. She's accusing people of things. She's accusing people of things. Yeah, she really could have benefited from somebody going over there and just taking the phone away from her. So, but no one did that. But because of that, Beck did come out with a response, and this is where the washcloths come in. And this is the one thing that I have noticed pretty much everybody has been asking me about. It's the damn washcloths. Look, guys, what do you care about the washcloths? The washcloths are washcloths, right? There's no greater depth to it, right? If anything, honestly, if you really want my breakdown of this, it's actually a pretty clever way of Amber to create a way for her to wipe her own ass, basically unassisted. It's gross, don't get me wrong. It's unfortunate that she, in the beginning, was using other people's property and was disposing of it. And obviously she was doing that out of shame because that's weird. Not understanding that she could just wash them. I mean, I assume they had a washing machine at the daycare, at the gay care. I'm going out on a limb. That's the part that I'm confused about, why they didn't just wash the washcloths, do a load of laundry. Anyhow, but this is clearly a method, a survival tactic that Amber did create, and it does and has worked for her for a while. Clearly, she prefers to dispose of them versus washing them. Whatever. She's got the money to do that if that's what she wants to do. Maybe she uses them a few times, reuses them a few times, cleans them hopefully, and then disposes of them. I don't know. I don't need to know. It's not my ass. But honestly, if we really look at it that kind of way, it's a fairly clever way of, assisting oneself. because it does give her a bit of autonomy there, because all she's got to do is set the cloth up on the edge and then do the thing that she does, and then she can turn around and pick the cloth up and do whatever the fuck it is she does with the cloth. You know, it's gross to think about, right? Because, you know, we just, as humans, have just a natural reaction to that kind of a thing because it's kind of gross. But everybody poops. Let's be honest. This is a really stupid thing to be talking about. It is really hard to talk about it in any kind of seriousness. But this does kind of, the fact that this is lingering and that it's like the topic does go back to a few things that I have been harping on through this entire video. And that is that Schadenfreude, people are enjoying the fact that this embarrasses Amber, and they like the fact that this is causing her so much discomfort. This, I think, is what set her off more than anything. Like, this has truly embarrassed her. And we don't see that happen a lot. We've seen her get really fed up. We've seen her get really stressed. We've seen her rage quit the internet a few times. I don't think this was a rage quit this time. I think this was an embarrassment quit. Also, she really did run out of pre-recorded material, and it's her pattern to stop being on the internet when she runs out of pre-recorded material. Like, that's just typical Amber. So I knew when she said, I'm almost out of pre-recorded stuff, I knew she was going to be taking a break, because she always does, right? So this is not an unusual thing for her either. So don't read too much into this, right? I know every time she takes a sabbatical, everybody freaks out and they're like, oh my God, is she dead? Blah, blah, blah. This is typical, right? This is not unusual behavior for her. It's just very unfortunate that it coincides with this revelation, right? Things I don't need to know are the bathroom habits of the girls. I really don't. Yes, we are all morbidly curious, and I think it does go back to that. Like, we as a population are morbidly curious on how people of Amber's size manage to keep themselves, do their hygiene, right? We're just curious. You look at someone like Amber and you're like, how the fuck do you wipe your ass? Because that's a question, right? Well, now you know. Now you know. So there you go. You asked, now you have an answer. Aren't you glad? So it's that kind of a thing. But I feel like the sensationalization of it and just the fact that people are not letting go of it in general, I think that falls back on just the low level meanness within the community itself, which is another reason why I just really don't want to deal with it. So this will be the only video we're doing on it. You guys asked about, you know, my observations on the community as a whole, like the Amberverse as a whole, and that's my observation on it. I mean, there's a level of Schadenfreude here going on because we don't like Amber. We kind of like it when she gets her comeuppance. She's the one that was like going after Beck. Like, that's literally what was happening here. She kept attacking Beck and attacking Beck and attacking Beck. And much like that live, right after they broke up, where Amber was attacking Beck, and Beck finally was like, who wipes your ass? This is exactly the same situation. She kept going after Beck, and Beck said up front, I don't want to talk about hygiene or smells or any of that kind of stuff. And Amber herself is the one that kept pushing that fucking button, and Beck was like, fine, washcloths, you know? And that's Amber's fault, right? That's not the community. That wasn't Beck sitting there waiting for the proper moment. That was Amber. This is just another whisper that was heard across the internet, right? The fact that this is going to be like the topic of discussion on every reaction channel for like the next 2 months or better, I'm not looking forward to it. I really don't care. It's just weird. Um, Again, it's a question that we as a community, we as people have when we look at. I mean, how many times have you watched 600 Pound Life or one of those other kind of shows, and you're just like, how the hell do you wipe your ass? Well, rag on a stick, rag on the side of the sink. You know, now you know. So there's that. Salty, again, going back to Salty Crab's video, Salty does come to point out that there's a remarkably large stack of washcloths in Amber's closet that are all dark in color. And that's a lot of washcloths for one person. And she's right. I don't even own that many washcloths, and there's 2 people in my household. And Salty didn't mention this. I think it was somebody in a chat or something. I don't remember exactly who mentioned it, but when Amber was packing to go to live with Tommy for 3 months, she packed a bunch of washcloths, and everybody thought that was kind of strange. But she also packed a bunch of her own towels too. So that's I don't know. At the time, it was just like weird, but okay. She was packing a lot of her own stuff that was making people think that she was moving. And now we're aware that it was basically her just taking her own toiletries with her own toilet paper. Which that was very nice of her, as opposed to destroying Tommy's washcloths. Anyway, so yeah, okay, let me wrap everything up because we are now done with this topic. The Schadenfreude is real, and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about that again when we're going over Rachel's video on the train wreck and the Schadenfreude, because that is relevant. Because we can talk about all of the girls, not just Amber, when we talk about that. The level of meanness that exists within the community that's going to keep this alive. The reaction channels are going to keep this alive, which goes back to the Schadenfreude. Honestly, everybody enjoys seeing Amber get her comeuppance, but at the same time, they also enjoy being part of the group that is participating in keeping the Schadenfreude going, I guess. I don't know. Not my thing. As far as whatever anthropological angle we could really take of this, there's the societal fascination of, how do people of Amber's size maintain hygiene? This isn't the only way, obviously, but it is the way that Amber has found to solve the issue. I am curious in general if now that the world knows that this is how Amber has been solving this issue, is she going to change her method? Is she going to keep doing it because it clearly works? Will she change methods now because now it's embarrassing for her to do? Does she even actually care? So, and again, the hiatus that she's taking, I think it's more coincidental than it is actually her being truly embarrassed off the internet, because again, she mentioned before this even happened that she had run out of pre-recorded stuff, and as per her pattern for that has occurred over years, this is a well-established pattern of hers, she when she runs out of material, she usually takes a hiatus, and her hiatuses have been increasing in length. Her last one was when she went to go live with Tommy over the holidays, or really, really close to the holidays, and she was gone for about 3 months. Pardon me. So I don't know how long this one's going to last. I'm sure we'll get a couple little updates here and there. I know she's been going off in her community posts, and for whatever fucking reason decided to post that picture from Reddit. And again, I know she's basically blaming Beck for everything, because that's again how Amber just does things. I don't know why exactly she has made Beck her Moriarty. Beck is she's she's just mean to Beck. Like, of all of the exes, she's just mean to Beck, right? And she always has been, even when they were together. She's just mean to Beck. She just takes everything out on them. And I'm not entirely sure why. But it's always been that way. So I don't see this changing anytime soon. And right now she's pissed. So expect that to last for a while. But there you go. There's my take on the washcloths. Please don't ask me about it anymore because it's gross and I don't want to talk about it. But see everybody in the next one.
This
Bye.
is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.